1 year ago today, sounds of laughter and music in Dayton's Oregon District were replaced with sounds of gunshots and screams of terror. Nine people were brutally murdered. Gunmen sprayed bullets into a crowd of people on the street that early morning. 9 people who went to the Oregon District to enjoy a night out never came home. 9 people who were fiercely loved by their family and by their friends. 9 people who we cannot and should not forget. Today, we remember them. And we remember the others who were wounded that early morning, and all those who carry the emotional scars of that night. We offer our most sincere thanks to the heroic officers who ran towards, not away, ran towards the danger, and they saved lives. I'd like to pause now for a moment of silence in honor of those that were lost and in honor of those whose lives have been forever changed by that tragedy. Thank you. For Fran and for me, this is still a very emotional memory, as I know it is for so many. And the emotions are still raw. For as long as I live, I will never forget going to the Oregon District that morning along with Mayor Whaley, Chief Beal, Fran, and myself, and seeing that crime scene. I'm an old former county prosecuting attorney. I've been to a lot of crime scenes, but I've never seen anything like this. Blood on the street, the food vendor's cart still sitting there as if time had stood still. The funerals then, later that week. Fran and I tried to go to most of them, but just seeing the loved ones who were there and mourning their loved one, we will never forget that. Fran and I, of course, hold the Miami Valley very close to our hearts. This is where we grew up. This is where we still call home. When the massacre happened, it had only been around 2 months since a series of devastating tornadoes swept through the area, causing a great deal of damage to a number of people's homes, over 900 homes and buildings. So it's been tough. But the Miami Valley is tough. Miami Valley is resilient. Dayton is tough. Dayton is resilient. And through all of this, Dayton, the gem city, shines bright. The city of Dayton sent us this mosaic photograph. It's made up of contributed photos from the Dayton community combined into a larger image depicting a prayer vigil in the Oregon District the following day. Fran and I were at the vigil that night. I'll never forget trying to get through the crowd and then going up to the stage and climbing up to the stage, and then when you got to the top of the stage, I looked out and literally down the street as far as you could see. As far as the eye could see, there were people. It was just amazing. I can still hear the heartbroken and angry, yes, angry mourners chanting, "Do something, do something," and rightfully so. They had the right to be upset. They had the right to be mad. They had the right to mourn, demanding that our state do something to stop gun violence. The words certainly moved me, and we vowed to answer that call. We enhanced safety resources in the next few months for our schools. We invested hundreds of millions of dollars in mental health assistance for our schools. We offered grants to help make our churches safer and funding to help law enforcement extradite dangerous criminals. Further, our warrant task force work has led to a 903% increase in the number of arrest warrants entered into the National Warrant Database since March 2019, a 903% increase. When warrants for dangerous wanted criminals are in these systems, it significantly increases the likelihood if they try to purchase a gun, that sale will be stopped. I am convinced that our work in improving the information that we put into the National Firearms Background Check System has prevented criminals from purchasing guns and has in all likelihood saved lives. We are now building on these efforts by developing an e-warrant system to make the entry of warrants and protection orders into these databases as easy as possible. Lieutenant Governor will talk more about this system in a few minutes, but it's critical that local government agencies use this system, which brings me to legislation. We have designed this system. It will go into effect within a month. One of the counties where we'll start this, with 10 counties, happens to be Montgomery County, 9 other counties besides that. But we also need legislation to make sure that there is a requirement that any time a serious felony is committed, a warrant is issued, that warrant goes into the national database as well as the state database. In October, we unveiled Strong Ohio, a reasonable and aggressive package of legislation designed to protect the rights of Ohio's law-abiding citizens. Part of that bill is what I just mentioned, that requirement that if there's an outstanding warrant for a dangerous individual, that must be entered into the national database. Our bill would better protect our citizens from those with a propensity towards violence. It would better ensure that those who are a danger to themselves or to others get help. And also, it better prevents the sale of guns to those who are prohibited from owning them. Today, 1 year since the shooting, 1 year to the date since the shooting took place, that prompted our Strong Ohio bill. Sadly, Ohio's laws are exactly where they were a year ago. Ohioans are saying to the state legislature, do something. I'm calling on the General Assembly to advance the Strong Ohio bill. We must not let the deaths of these 9 people be forgotten. Nor can we continue to ignore the fact that we have a generation of young people who have been murdered on the streets of our cities on a daily basis. This brings me to another part of the Strong Ohio bill, a part that sometimes is forgotten or ignored. And that is gun violence that occurs on our streets every day in Ohio, predominantly, not exclusively, but predominantly in our major cities. We went back and looked at the figures for this year. In Ohio's 8 largest cities, in the first half of this year, homicides have increased by a total of 27% as compared to the same time period last year. This year, 246 of our fellow citizens have been murdered, most of them by guns, in our major cities. More than 80% of the victims were African Americans. All were victims, all had a right to live. Most of the individuals, we know from talking to chiefs of police and from past experience, that most of these individuals who committed these crimes did it with a gun, and most of them had no legal ability to own that gun. Our Strong Ohio bill will impact this in a number of ways. One way is as follows. This bill will increase the penalty for repeat violent offenders who use a gun in the commission of a felony or who are found in possession of a gun. This is something that chiefs of police in our major cities have been asking for a number of years. We asked the legislature Please pass this along with the rest of Strong Ohio. We simply cannot continue to let this bill languish while people continue to die. Doing nothing is simply not an option.